When Border Patrol dog Blaze refused to leave a seemingly empty rock formation in the Arizona desert, Agent Maria Santos thought her Belgian Malinois partner was overheated from the scorching sun. But Blaze had been detecting human smuggling operations along the Mexican border for 4 years with an impeccable record. His nose had saved dozens of lives in the unforgiving desert. What Blaze was detecting beneath those ancient rocks would expose the largest human trafficking tunnel network in U.S. history and reveal a humanitarian crisis that had been hidden 30 feet underground for over 2 years. The Arizona sun blazed mercilessly overhead as U.S. Border Patrol Agent Maria Santos guided her patrol vehicle across the rocky terrain 15 miles north of the Mexican border. The temperature had reached 112 degrees Fahrenheit by noon, and the desert landscape shimmered with heat waves that made the distant mountains appear to dance. Beside her in the specially ventilated K9 compartment sat Blaze, a 4-year-old Belgian Malinois whose dark coat absorbed the desert heat, but whose determination never wavered. Blaze wasn't just any Border Patrol dog. He was part of the elite human smuggling detection unit, trained to locate hidden compartments in vehicles, detect human scent trails across vast desert expanses, and find people who had been abandoned by smugglers in the deadly wilderness. In 4 years of service along the Arizona-Mexico border, Blaze had been responsible for 127 successful rescues, including finding a family of 6 who had been lost in the desert for 3 days without water. His ability to track human scent, even in extreme heat and over rocky terrain, had made him legendary among Border Patrol agents. "Easy, boy," Maria said, as she parked near a cluster of sandstone rock formations that rose from the desert floor like ancient sentinels. "Just a routine sweep of Sector 7, then we'll head back to the air conditioning." This area, known to agents as the Devil's Playground, was a notorious crossing point for human smugglers. The rocky terrain provided natural hiding places, but it was also treacherous for migrants attempting to cross on foot. Over the past decade, dozens of bodies had been recovered from this sector, victims of dehydration, heat stroke, and abandonment by smugglers who cared more about profit than human life. Maria opened Blaze's compartment and immediately noticed his unusual behavior. Instead of showing signs of heat fatigue, the Belgian Malinois was intensely alert, his nose working overtime as he sampled the air currents that carried scent information across the desert landscape. But the truly shocking thing is, Blaze immediately began moving toward the largest rock formation with the focused intensity that meant he had detected human presence. Not the stale scent of someone who had passed through days ago, but active current human scent. "What is it, Blaze?" Maria asked, following her partner toward the rocks. She had learned to trust his instincts completely. In the deadly desert environment, Blaze's nose was often the difference between life and death for migrants who had been abandoned by their smugglers. The rock formation was about 30 feet high and 50 feet across, with natural caves and crevices that could provide shade from the brutal sun. Maria had searched this area dozens of times over the years, usually finding evidence of recent human passage, discarded water bottles, torn clothing, sometimes the tragic remains of those who hadn't survived the crossing. But Blaze's behavior was different this time. Instead of following scent trails on the surface, he was focused on a specific area at the base of the rocks, pawing at the ground and whining in a way that indicated he was detecting something significant below ground level. It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because Blaze wasn't detecting migrants who were hiding in the caves above ground. He was detecting a large number of people who were somehow present beneath the rocky desert floor. Maria knelt beside Blaze and examined the area he was focused on. What she initially thought was solid rock and packed earth showed subtle signs of disturbance, loose stones arranged to look natural, dirt that had been recently moved, and most tellingly, a faint but distinct current of cooler air rising from what appeared to be solid ground. "Dispatch, this is Agent Santos in Sector 7. Maria radioed to the Border Patrol station. "I need backup and possibly a search and rescue team." Blaze is indicating multiple human subjects at the Devil's Playground rock formation, but I'm seeing evidence of possible underground activity. Within 20 minutes, Agent Carlos Rodriguez arrived with 2 additional agents and portable ground-penetrating radar equipment. Rodriguez had been Maria's partner for 3 years before being promoted to sector supervisor, and he knew better than to question Blaze's alerts. "What's he indicating?" Rodriguez asked as he watched Blaze maintain his alert position despite the brutal heat. "Underground human presence," Maria replied, "multiple subjects and recent activity. This area has been modified, Carlos. Someone's built something down there. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because when the ground-penetrating radar revealed what lay beneath the rock formation, it exposed not just a hiding place, but a sophisticated underground network that had been operating undetected for over 2 years. The radar scan revealed a complex network of tunnels and chambers carved into the bedrock beneath the natural rock formation. The construction was professional, reinforced with concrete and steel, and designed to house large numbers of people for extended periods. "This isn't some hastily dug smuggling tunnel," Agent Rodriguez said, studying the radar display. "This is sophisticated infrastructure. Someone invested serious time and money into building this." FBI Special Agent Jennifer Park arrived within 2 hours, bringing with her a team of federal agents specializing in human trafficking investigations. The discovery had already escalated beyond a typical Border Patrol operation into a major federal case. Blaze's detection may have uncovered the largest human smuggling operation we've ever encountered, Agent Park told the assembled team. "We need to proceed carefully. If there are people down there, they may be in immediate danger." The entrance to the underground facility was cleverly concealed beneath a natural-looking arrangement of stones that could be moved aside to reveal a steel access door. The door had been painted to blend with the surrounding rock and was virtually invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. Blaze remained in alert mode throughout the investigation, his focus never wavering from the underground facility. His behavior indicated that he was detecting a large number of people below ground, and his agitation suggested they might be in distress. "Wait a second, don't miss this detail, because when the tactical entry team opened the access door, the sound that emerged wasn't just voices or movement, it was the unmistakable sound of children crying." Agent Park led the descent into the underground facility, following a concrete stairway that descended 30 feet into the bedrock. The air was cooler but stale, circulated by a sophisticated ventilation system that drew air through hidden vents in the rock formation above. What they found in the underground chambers would haunt every agent involved in the operation. Over 150 people were being held in conditions that violated every standard of human dignity. Men, women, and children from various Central and South American countries had been imprisoned in the facility for periods ranging from weeks to over a year. "This is systematic human trafficking on an industrial scale," Agent Park radioed to federal headquarters. "We have immediate medical emergencies and need mass casualty response." The facility contained multiple chambers designed for different purposes. Some areas housed families with small children, others held unaccompanied minors, and still others contained adults who appeared to be held for forced labor purposes. The conditions were cramped, unsanitary, and dangerous to human health. But the truly shocking thing is, the investigation revealed that this wasn't just a way station for people crossing the border. It was a sorting and distribution center for a trafficking network that supplied forced labor to businesses across the southwestern United States. The rescue of over 150 people from the underground facility became the largest humanitarian operation in Border Patrol history. Each person required immediate medical evaluation, and many needed emergency treatment for dehydration, malnutrition, and medical conditions that had gone untreated during their captivity. Blaze worked alongside search and rescue teams to ensure that every chamber and tunnel had been cleared. His ability to detect human scent helped agents locate hidden areas that might have been missed during the initial sweep. "Without Blaze's alert, we never would have found this place," Agent Santos told news crews covering the rescue operation. "These people were completely hidden from view. Some had been underground for over a year." The victims represented 12 different countries, with ages ranging from infants to elderly adults. Many had been promised legitimate jobs in the United States, but had been forced into unpaid labor in agricultural fields, construction sites, and domestic service. Others had been held as bargaining chips while their families were extorted for additional payments. Dr. Elena Martinez, Chief of Emergency Medicine at the Regional Medical Center, coordinated the medical response. "We're treating conditions that you'd expect to see in a prisoner of war camp," she explained. Malnutrition, dehydration, untreated injuries, and severe psychological trauma. The children were of particular concern, as many showed signs of being separated from their families for extended periods. Social services agencies from 3 states were mobilized to provide care and work on family reunification efforts. It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because the investigation revealed that the underground facility was connected to a network of tunnels that stretched for miles beneath the desert, connecting to similar facilities on both sides of the border. FBI teams using ground-penetrating radar and tunnel detection equipment discovered that the network included at least 6 other underground facilities, some with their own ventilation systems, sleeping areas, and storage for food and water. The entire network had been designed to move people invisibly across the border and hold them for extended periods without detection. "This represents a completely new evolution in human trafficking," explained Dr. Robert Kim, a federal expert on transnational organized crime. "They built an underground railroad designed not to free people, but to enslave them." You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because the investigation revealed that the trafficking network had been in operation for over 5 years and had processed an estimated 2,000 victims during that time. The FBI's investigation into the underground trafficking network revealed connections to organized crime groups in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The operation was sophisticated, well-funded, and had been carefully planned to avoid detection by border security measures. "This wasn't opportunistic crime," Agent Park explained during a press conference announcing the arrests. "This was a business operation designed to generate long-term profits from human suffering." Financial records seized during raids on associated properties showed that the trafficking network had generated over $50 million in profits over 3 years. The money came from multiple sources: payments from victims' families, profits from forced labor, and fees charged to businesses that knowingly employed trafficking victims. Blaze's detection had triggered investigations in 7 states, leading to the arrest of 47 suspects, including business owners, labor contractors, and government officials who had been bribed to ignore labor violations. The network had infiltrated legitimate businesses in agriculture, construction, hospitality, and domestic service industries. Blaze uncovered a form of modern slavery that was hiding in plain sight, said Department of Homeland Security Secretary Lisa Park. "This case has fundamentally changed how we understand and combat human trafficking." The rescued victims provided testimony that helped federal prosecutors build comprehensive cases against the trafficking network. Many described being deceived about job opportunities in the United States, only to find themselves trapped in situations where they were forced to work without pay under threat of violence or deportation. But the truly shocking thing is, the investigation revealed that some of the trafficking victims had been used to build the underground facilities where they were later imprisoned, forced to dig their own prisons without understanding the ultimate purpose of their labor. The tunnels had been constructed over a period of 3 years, with different groups of trafficking victims working on different sections without knowing the overall scope of the project. The sophisticated engineering and construction suggested involvement by professionals with mining or construction expertise. "They used slave labor to build a slave camp," Agent Rodriguez said during his testimony to a congressional committee investigating the case. "It represents a level of systematic dehumanization that's hard to comprehend." The prosecution of the trafficking network took place over 2 years in federal courts across multiple jurisdictions. The evidence collected through Blaze's detection and the subsequent investigation provided prosecutors with detailed documentation of one of the most extensive human trafficking operations in U.S. history. Blaze attended many of the trial proceedings, serving as a living reminder of how the network had been discovered and dismantled. His presence seemed to comfort many of the trafficking survivors who testified about their experiences. The network's leader, Roberto Valdez, was convicted on charges including conspiracy to commit human trafficking, forced labor, money laundering, and operating a continuing criminal enterprise. He received a life sentence without possibility of parole. "You created a system of modern slavery that destroyed hundreds of lives," the judge said during Valdez's sentencing. "Your operation was discovered only because of the exceptional abilities of a detection dog and the dedication of law enforcement officers who refused to ignore what they found." The other network members received sentences ranging from 15 to 35 years in prison. The businesses that had knowingly employed trafficking victims were fined millions of dollars and required to implement enhanced worker protection programs. Wait a second. Don't miss this detail, because the trials revealed that the trafficking network had been planning to expand their operations to include facilities in Texas, California, and New Mexico, potentially tripling the number of victims. Construction had already begun on 2 additional underground facilities when Blaze's detection led to the investigation. The expansion would have created a network capable of holding over 500 people at any given time, making it one of the largest human trafficking operations in world history. Blaze's alert prevented a humanitarian catastrophe that would have affected thousands more victims, testified Agent Santos during the penalty phase of the trials. "What you've seen so far is nothing, because Blaze's discovery led to federal legislation strengthening penalties for human trafficking and increasing funding for border security programs focused on detecting underground facilities." 3 years after Blaze's detection at the Devil's Playground, his impact on border security and human trafficking prevention continued to grow. The techniques developed during the investigation had been adopted by law enforcement agencies across the United States and internationally. Blaze had become a specialist in detecting underground human trafficking operations, working with federal agencies to investigate suspected facilities in multiple states. His success rate remained perfect, leading to the rescue of over 400 trafficking victims in 3 years. "Blaze changed how we approach human trafficking investigations," explained Agent Park, who had been promoted to head the FBI's Human Trafficking Detection Unit. His case proved that traffickers were using sophisticated concealment methods that required equally sophisticated detection capabilities. The rescued victims from the original facility had followed different paths to recovery. Many had been reunited with their families, while others had received asylum status and were rebuilding their lives in the United States. Several had become advocates for trafficking prevention and had testified before Congress about their experiences. Maria Santos and Blaze continued their partnership, but their role had expanded beyond routine border patrol to include specialized investigations of suspected trafficking operations. They had become the go-to team for complex cases involving underground facilities or sophisticated concealment methods. You won't believe it, but Blaze's detection techniques had been studied and replicated by K-9 units worldwide, with several countries implementing similar programs to detect underground human trafficking operations. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime had established an international training program based on Blaze's methods, training dogs and handlers from 23 countries in techniques for detecting underground trafficking facilities. The program had led to the discovery of similar operations in Europe, Asia, and South America. But the truly shocking thing is, Blaze's work had inspired changes in how society understands and combats modern slavery, with increased awareness of trafficking indicators and stronger legal protections for victims. The success of Blaze's detection had demonstrated that human trafficking was far more sophisticated and widespread than previously understood, leading to new approaches that emphasize detection, prevention, and victim protection over traditional enforcement-only strategies. Blaze received the American Humane Association's Law Enforcement Animal of the Year Award in a ceremony attended by over 500 law enforcement officers, trafficking survivors, and advocates from around the world. The award recognized not just his individual achievements, but his role in transforming anti-trafficking efforts, Blaze represents hope for the thousands of people who remain trapped in modern slavery, said the ceremony's keynote speaker, a trafficking survivor who had been rescued from the underground facility. His detection gave us our freedom back and showed the world that this crime exists in places we never thought to look. Agent Santos's acceptance speech on Blaze's behalf was emotional and powerful. Blaze teaches us that fighting human trafficking requires more than technology or procedures. It requires the instincts to detect suffering that's hidden from view and the determination to investigate when something doesn't feel right. The ceremony was attended by many of the people Blaze had helped rescue, along with their families. For many of them, seeing Blaze receive recognition was an important part of their healing process, acknowledging the dog who had given them their freedom. It was at this exact moment that everything changed, because Blaze's story inspired a new generation of law enforcement officers and advocates to pursue specialized training in anti-trafficking work. Border Patrol academies across the country began incorporating Blaze's techniques into their canine training programs, and federal agencies established specialized units focused on detecting underground trafficking operations. The impact extended beyond law enforcement, with Blaze's story inspiring increased community awareness about trafficking indicators and the importance of reporting suspicious activity. Public education campaigns featuring Blaze's detection had reached millions of people and generated thousands of tips that led to investigations. Today, 7 years after Blaze's detection at the Devil's Playground, his legacy continues to protect vulnerable people worldwide. The techniques he pioneered have been adopted by law enforcement agencies in 35 countries, leading to the rescue of thousands of trafficking victims. Blaze, now 11 years old, continues to work actively, though his schedule has been reduced to accommodate his age. He serves as a trainer for younger dogs and as a consultant on complex trafficking cases that require his specialized expertise. Blaze has shown no signs of slowing down, Agent Santos explains. His instincts are as sharp as ever, and his experience makes him invaluable for training other dogs and handlers. The Blaze Foundation, established with donations from grateful survivors and law enforcement agencies, provides funding for canine anti-trafficking programs and survivor support services. The foundation has trained over 200 detection dogs and has funded programs that have led to hundreds of rescues. Wait a second, don't miss this detail, because Blaze's offspring have inherited many of his exceptional detection abilities, with his bloodline becoming highly sought after by anti-trafficking units worldwide. 3 of Blaze's puppies are working with different law enforcement agencies, and all have shown exceptional success in detecting underground trafficking operations. Researchers studying Blaze's abilities believe that his sensitivity to human distress in confined spaces is partly genetic, leading to improved breeding programs for anti-trafficking dogs. Blaze's story has been documented in books, documentaries, and training materials used by law enforcement agencies worldwide. His image appears in recruitment materials for Border Patrol and other agencies, inspiring young people to consider careers in protecting vulnerable populations. What you've seen so far is nothing, because the lessons learned from Blaze's work have prevented countless crimes and transformed how law enforcement approaches human trafficking investigations. The Blaze effect describes the increased success rate in trafficking investigations when canine units trained in his methods are deployed early in suspected cases. Agencies that have implemented Blaze protocol report a 400% increase in detection rates for underground trafficking operations. Every day, Border Patrol agents across the southwestern United States begin their shifts knowing that techniques pioneered by a Belgian Malinois named Blaze might be the key to saving lives in the harsh desert environment. His legacy lives on through the hundreds of canine teams trained in his methods and the thousands of potential victims who remain free because of improved trafficking detection capabilities. Maria and Blaze, though both showing their age, continue to patrol the desert where their partnership began. The memorial garden at the Border Patrol station features not a statue, but a living tribute, a desert garden where survivors of trafficking operations come to reflect and find peace. The garden includes plaques honoring trafficking survivors and the law enforcement officers who work to protect them. The centerpiece is a simple stone marker that reads, "In memory of those who didn't survive the desert crossing, and in honor of those who dedicate their lives to ensuring no one is left behind." Remember, sometimes the most important discoveries are made not by following established procedures, but by trusting the instincts of those who can detect suffering that others cannot see. Blaze's story reminds us that protecting vulnerable people requires vigilance, courage, and the wisdom to investigate when something feels wrong, even in the most unlikely places. His legacy continues through every person who sleeps in freedom,
because someone was brave enough to trust a dog's determination to uncover the truth. Thank you for following Blaze's incredible journey from routine border patrol to international anti-trafficking hero. His story proves that heroism comes in many forms, and sometimes the greatest protection comes from those who refuse to ignore signs of human suffering. We want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed a detection dog making a discovery that seemed impossible? Do you think canine programs should be expanded to combat human trafficking? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If Blaze's story inspired you, please share this video with someone who believes in protecting vulnerable people and fighting modern slavery. Don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories of animal heroes who dedicate their lives to saving those who cannot save themselves. Sometimes saving hundreds of lives begins with simply refusing to leave a rock formation in the desert when your instincts tell you that people are suffering beneath your feet.